Hello, welcome to Chat UTD. This is my preview of tomorrow's game against Crystal Palace. The scene of the crime from last season, one of the low points of last season where we got beat 4-0 in about, I don't know, April, May sort of time. Horrendous night prompted Ten Hag to do things a bit differently after that, in that he became a bit more pragmatic in his approach, finally made some decisions which made us more difficult to play through. Subsequently, we got narrowly beat by Arsenal when I think everyone expected them to pump us. We beat Newcastle, we beat Brighton, and then of course we beat Man City in the FA Cup final. So it prompted a series of events that ended up obviously with us winning the FA Cup, but obviously was not a pleasant experience to get beat 4-0 down there. I don't worry about a repeat tomorrow because we meet Crystal Palace in very different form from their perspective from a few months ago. When Glasner first took over, they were really good. They were scoring a lot of goals against quite a few teams. It wasn't just us that they put a few past. They're not in brilliant form at the start of the season, but nonetheless, it's a real test. Not just to try and go and win the game, but also, can we wrestle control of the game? Can we play with some decent style? Can we play with a bit of structure? That's the big question. And also, can we find that consistency that I've been talking about in the last couple of videos? Because this is a real test of that. Tough game, Palace away. Be a big atmosphere, a frenetic game probably. A game where we might have to be resilient and come up against that adversity that Roy Keane talks about and be able to deal with it. So, big test. Personally, I think we probably should go with Garnacho, Rashford, and Ahmad. I don't mind Rashford up front if he's in the right frame of mind. I think in a potentially frenetic game, as I think it might well be, I think he's probably going to turn defenders, take them to places they don't want to go more than Xerxes is. Xerxes going to come short and link the play and all that kind of stuff. I don't think Rashford's particularly good at that. But in a game where it could be air and scare and wacky races type stuff, I think maybe Rashford might be better, in particular if he is going to continue, again, like the team, he needs to continue and be consistent. Happy Friday. I'm not some raving piss can, by the way. I only have a drink on Friday and Saturday, or Saturday to be honest, but it just so happens that I'm doing my preview and having some scoopage whilst I do it. Ugarte. Can't believe I didn't mention Ugarte. How remiss of me in my post-match video from the Barnsley game. And I was thinking to myself, indirectly, is that a little bit of a compliment to him because he kind of just fitted in, and it felt like he'd been there a while. He didn't do anything spectacular. There was one run that he went on where he at pace he carried the ball about 30 yards up the pitch, and it was a really good progressive run, and the crowd kind of really enjoyed that. And as Leon pointed out, I think in a comment, or it might have been in a message to me privately, but he definitely said it, in the build up to my favourite goal of the evening, which was Garnacho's second, it was Ugarte who won the ball back, and then I think passed it to Rashford, and Rashford passed it to Eriksen, and obviously Eriksen passed it to Garnacho, who scored. Nice and simple, and I think that's what we need. Someone who comes in, does the hard graft, does simple things well. Because as daft as it sounds, maybe, with all these fancy players that we've bought over the years, Casemiro, is one of them that springs to mind. But I think we're crying out for someone just to do the basics right in midfield, but at a high level. And I think hopefully he could be that guy. I'm going to run something by you, to those people that are watching. An idea I've got in terms of a slightly different shape for the team, and it involves either Bruno not playing or Bruno playing in a slightly different position. I think we should go to a 4-3-3. And it's not any typical 4-3-3. It's a bit different. I'm going to explain it. And this is brand new. to ChatUTD for the first time. Check this out. I've only got a bloody tactics board. I haven't got 11 of the things, so I'm just going to have to explain what I mean by missing out the strikers and the goalkeeper. So by 4-3-3, what I mean is these two would be the centre backs, and Ugarte, his starting position certainly would be literally just in front of them. Then instead of having two there, well, essentially I think what happens now is the two midfielders are there, and then Bruno's up there. So you've got Ugarte there, and then you've got Mainoo and I would say either Casemiro or Bruno there. That's their starting positions. Now you can see here that if the wide players the fullbacks are high up the pitch, it's not obviously there is some worries down here, but I would say this area of the pitch then becomes quite secure because you've got 5 players in those areas. It condenses the pitch, and obviously you'd look at the fullbacks trying to come back as well. What happened against Liverpool was, so let's just say that's Bruno. So Bruno's up there, Mainoo's about here, Casemiro gets the ball here. Casemiro passes it, it goes to Gravenberch. Mainoo's up here, Bruno's nowhere to be seen, the fullbacks are here. We've all of a sudden got a big problem. Martinez goes out there, and he shouts to De Ligt to stay central, but he doesn't. De Ligt goes over here, the goalkeeper's over here, the ball comes over these 2 players back stick who score the goal. I would say hopefully if that happens with this new way of looking at it, Casemiro, whoever gets the ball, first of all you've got some options here and here, but secondly if you give the ball away you've now got a condensed area there. This is reliant on these two becoming box-to-box midfield players. It's like a double 8 basically, so they're hybrid. They play deep when we haven't got the ball, and they progress up the pitch, and we need them to do that to make sure there's not massive gaps between there and the forwards, which I know you can't see on this because I haven't got the things for it. The wide players have to be hybrids as well. They have to be wingers and fullbacks at the same time. And what happens is, I'm sorry I haven't got enough of the thing, so let's just take the defenders and make them strikers for a second and forget the defenders for a minute. What you end up with the forward 3 is they're probably, I hope, quite narrow. So you've almost got 3 up front. You've got those 2 as inside forwards rather than out and out wingers. And I actually think that probably suits our players better than them being out there, which is kind of what happens sometimes now. What you also get then is those overloads, the wide overloads. We get players in advanced positions in those wide overloads, and that gives us a massive option for getting to the byline, cutting it back, and obviously people arriving onto there. Hopefully that makes sense. I think, excuse me, as I say, the frailties of that current system is that we at times it's 5 versus 3. When we give the ball away, it can be 5 versus 3. Whereas I don't think it'll be like that if you've got that condensed 5 in the middle of the park. Would it happen? I don't think he's going to drop Bruno. Bruno's one of my favourite players. I'm not saying I want him to be dropped, but I think he's more than capable of becoming an 8 instead of a 10 as a double 8 with Mainoo. And he will work hard. He will get up. He'll get down. He'll graft. He probably actually doesn't need as much positional discipline in that role as he does as a 10, because at 10 really you're supposed to stay further forward. What we get with him is, because of his nature, I think he's it's an enigmatic position, but he's quite an enigmatic player because he tries so much stuff. We get the benefits of that, of course we do, like the goals, the assists, all those fantastic statistics he's got, but we also get the negatives, which is that he gives the ball away. It sometimes leaves us a bit short. He doesn't always make the best decision, which I think dropping that little bit deeper and being a box-to-boxer, I thought maybe even might suit him a bit better. So just an idea. Don't think it'll happen, but I'd like to see that 4-3-3. And I'm pretty sure that when Ajax reached the semi-final of the Champions League, I'm sure they played 4-3-3, but Ten Hag seems set on 4-2-3-1. I just think it doesn't protect our weaknesses. I think it accentuates them. And what ends up happening is Martinez and De Ligt, who on paper should be the strongest part of our team, really, they're exposed, and they don't look weak because we can see it's not their fault, but they're exposed, and I think that might just help us a little bit in there. Let me know your thoughts. If anyone's got any spare doobers for my tactics board, donate them. I did have 11, but I can't find the other 3, so never mind. Want to refer to something that Mark Goldbridge said on the United Stand a couple of days ago in response to the Barnsley game. He was saying that the Barnsley win was as a result of a stylistic change from United, in that we wouldn't have got that win a couple of years ago because we wouldn't have been playing the style of football that we're playing now. And to give evidence that he was right, he said that United have started to cut the ball back more, that we're the evidence to suggest that we're playing more progressive football is that we're playing such good passing football through the lines that we're progressing to the byline and we're seeing a lot more cutbacks. And he said last season you weren't seeing any cutbacks, which I agree, we weren't. He was saying we weren't winning the ball back quickly enough. Ball recovery time was too long. Completely agree. We were shooting from outside the box at any opportunity. Again, completely agree. I agree with all that. But when he spoke about the cutback thing, I thought, well, we scored 7 goals against Barnsley and not one of them was a cutback. Bruno squared it to Ericsson, but it wasn't a cutback. And I go further than that. We've scored 10 goals in 2 games, and the only one of them that was a cutback was Garnacho's third one against Southampton, which actually was indicative of what I was talking about then, that type of run being made by the fullback and those overloads, and having wide overloads like that, I think, can create those types of things. So I think sometimes we can, my point being, I think sometimes we can get a bit carried away with, we win a game and you start going, oh look, that's because he's doing it differently, that's because we've got this new style of play and it's different. If you can't see that, what are you watching? I'm not sure. I think I've said all season I can see some intent to do things slightly differently, but I don't think it's that different. And I certainly wouldn't be referencing cutbacks as evidence of it being different when we've scored 1 goal from a cutback out of 10 in the last two games. I see what he means. I think towards the end of the game against Barnsley, we were playing lots of intricate football in and around their box, and we probably were getting to the byline more. But I'm not looking at how many times are we cutting it back. I'm looking at how many times are we cutting it back and scoring goals from it. So I'm not sure that it's vastly different. I think against Barnsley, we were bang up for it. Everyone was relaxed, hungry at the same time, as I mentioned in my last video. There was we got a bit of confidence. We got on a roll. The big hitters were on form. We got some goals early doors, and we didn't take our foot off the accelerator. And their defence was absolutely appalling. As a team, they defended really, really badly. So it was brilliant, fantastic. But I'm not kind of saying, right, that's it. This is because of we're doing something massively different, because I just don't think we are. I must say, in terms of this style of play thing, I'm not obsessed with it. I'm a disciple of Ferguson. And my favourite Man United team of all time was the 93-94 team. People can say, of course, about the treble winning team and 2008, and they were great teams. But for me, the balance of that team, the consistency of it, the 93-94 team, the fact it picked itself week in, week out, was amazing. But one of the key features of that team was that they could do everything well. So if you wanted to have a fight with them, they'd fight you and they'd win. If you wanted to come at us and try and catch us out, we'd counter-attack you and we'd kill you on the counter-attack. If you wanted to sit back on what's now known as a low block, we'd pass patiently, progressively, and we would draw you out and we would find a way of breaking you down. It happened God knows how many times. Whatever you want, we'll do it. That's the sign of a great team. And if there was a game where it changed during the game and we had to adapt, they were adaptable, they were flexible, they were versatile, they could do it any way you want. And this image of Ferguson's teams as being swashbuckling, always got to the byline and cut it back or put crosses in and stuff like that, there's elements of truth to that. But just to say Ferguson's style was swashbuckling attacking football is too general, and it's not accurate. There was times when we had to sit tight, there was times when we had to sit deep, and then as I say, break on teams. If you get the chance, 93-94 season away at Sheffield United, don't know why this goal stands out in my head so much. I think roughly about December sort of time, but anyway, Sheffield United versus Manchester United, 93-94. I think we won 3-0, I know that, and Cantona scored on the counter-attack, and we were on the edge of our own box, and about 5 or 10 seconds later we'd scored. And it is the archetypal Man United counter-attack. Against Sheffield United, not who you'd think would be deploying a low block. That's what this team we've got now is missing, that ability to react and adapt. The problem we've got is when we lose control of a game, or when a manager makes a tactical adjustment, as I mentioned a couple of videos ago, we don't look like we know what to do to react to it. So it's great and it's encouraging that, and of course I want a framework and I want a style of play. I mentioned that in my first video of this season. I want us to see us play with intent, but we also have to be able to roll with the punches and be resilient to change and have more than one way to do it. And I think tomorrow's the perfect test of that, because it could be frenetic. We might lose control of it, and if we do, are we good enough? Are we able to adapt and still do well enough to stay in the game and ultimately win the game? So it's not just can we go and play with the style tomorrow. It's if it doesn't go well, can we adapt? Can we thrive rather than just survive? And I think Ugarte probably plays a massive part in that. I think it's a real good test of him tomorrow to see what he's made of and see what he's going to bring to us. And if we win, biggest 2-letter word in the dictionary, if we win, the positive consequences of that, if that makes sense, are massive. I think we've got Spurs after this. We should beat Spurs, and then Villa. But you win tomorrow. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you win tomorrow, you beat Spurs. That's 3 league wins in a row. We don't do that very often. The last time we did that was January, February sort of time, and I think I'm right in saying I think we only won 3 games in a row, either once or twice last season. So I've been calling out for consistency. Once you start getting 3 wins, maybe you get a draw at Villa. I know I'm getting way ahead of myself. I'd say that starts to look consistent. Not perfect, but it's more consistent. And we need that, having lost 2 out of our first 3 games. So tomorrow's a big test of that. Let's see what the boys are made of. Glazers out.